is up, Pokemon Chaos Forums? This is Steelgrassify here today with coverage from the August Pokemon Chaos tournament, and this is OU, as you can see by, both people's teams. And this OU tournament will consist of 8 different players fighting for the top spot as the August champion. And so, we've got today our first match, the first one ever played, actually. This would be Garchomp Pit versus Wolf Princess, or Wolf Prince, And so we got, Garchomp Pit here with his pretty much a sun team, The only thing that really abuses that sun is his Litigant with that chlorophyll ability. And we can see that he's got a lot of things that set up, like, Litigant could, do his Quiver Dance shenanigans, and Reuniclus with Calm Mind, but besides that, he's got Gliscor for a physical wall, and then 2 big threats in Hydreigon and Terrakion. Now, Wolf Prince, on the other hand, has a pretty balanced Hyper Offense team, and balanced, I mean, he's got 3 special attackers. Keldeo could go both ways, I guess, but I'm thinking more special. And then we've got, the 3 physical Pokemon as Haxorus, Scizor, and Donphan. And Donphan's probably, Rapid Spin or support Stealth Rocks because, Volcarona, you kind of need a Rapid Spinner. But either way, I think we can get into the battle right now. You can see that Garchomp Pit actually leads with his Gliscor, while Wolf Prince, as we can see here, actually leads out with his Rotom. And so now we see that Garchomp Pit's going to avoid the switch right here because he doesn't want to take a Hydro Pump, obviously. And so he goes into the Ninetales to get the sun up just because nothing on Wolf Prince's team is going to, make that sun go away. So as long as he gets it in now, he's got it in for the match. Now he can see here he's thinking that this Rotom might be faster, as in Choice Scarf maybe, but it's actually a defensive set that we see now. And both people right here are trying to figure out what to do here. So Wolf Prince, now knowing that he is, not choiced in any other way, goes for the Thunderbolt to see if it'll do more than Hydro Pump, which it actually doesn't. And Garchomp Pit going for the Will-O-Wisp here, trying to get some residual damage on that Rotom. Now, Rotom switches here because, Volcarona is a fire type and it can absorb that Will-O-Wisp, and it seems like a pretty good time to set up as any. So right now we got a paralyzed Ninetales, which is never a good thing. And so Garchomp Pit knows it doesn't want to set up, so he's actually going to send out his Terrakion to pretty much check this Volcarona. Now Volcarona just plays it safe and goes for a Fire Dance, get the special attack boost, but if this Terrakion is Choice Scarf, that won't even matter. So Wolf Prince has to switch out here and actually goes into his Donphan, which is a great check to Terrakion. Terrakion just plays it safe, goes for the Stone Edge. And so now Garchomp Pit switches out here back into his Reuniclus because he knows that it's probably most likely going to use Stealth Rocks, which it does, end up going for. So now that Stealth Rocks are on the field, Donphan's free to just whittle down this Reuniclus with an Earthquake as it Calm Minds up. And now Wolf Prince here is going to know that this thing can pretty much stall him out, so he needs to send out something that can take a big chunk of this Reuniclus's health. So he switches back into a Scizor, which actually does not take that Psychic very well whatsoever. And as we can see, the Scizor is going to be faster because Reuniclus is just super slow, so Garchomp Pit, has to switch out here, go into his Ninetales, pretty much is just death fodder at this point. But Wolf Prince, just finishes him off with a Bug Bite, playing it safe just in case the Reuniclus stays in, because it can 2-hit KO him with that Psychic. Now, next turn, we'll see that Garchomp Pit actually goes into his Gliscor, which is, of course, going to be able to take any hit from this Scizor, as at least that we know now. And Wolf Prince just going into his Rotom because that's probably the best play he could have made. If Gliscor went for Earthquake, he has Levitate, and Substitute, he can break that Substitute. So he makes a nice play here and goes for that Substitute, so he can at least live 1 hit and set up his Stealth Rocks, which he does do this turn. And now we see that Garchomp Pit does not want to take another Hydro Pump on this Gliscor, so he switches to his Litigant here, which, obviously is not going to take any damage well, practically whatsoever from this Hydro Pump, because it is Sun and it is resisted. Now, this is definitely not a good situation for Wolf Prince, but he stays in, seeing if he'll just start setting up without sleep powdering, go maybe get a Thunder Wave, but nope, not going to happen. Just go straight for the sleep powder, and now Litigant is pretty much free to set up one Quiver Dance. Wolf Prince goes into his Volcarona, which might be able to take something, but with the speed, Litigant might be able to do something here with +1 special attack. And we see it goes for Hidden Power Fire. Sun boosted does not KO the Volcarona. Volcarona just goes for Fire Dance, and in the Sun, that is going to work against that Litigant there, giving it just enough to KO that Litigant at like 70% health. And now Volcarona's in a pretty decent situation, except for this Terrakion. We still don't know if it's Scarfed. We do not see leftovers or anything. But Terrakion goes for Close Combat, and lucky for Garchomp, he doesn't get the Flame Body hacks, because that would have been nasty. Now we see here that Wolf Prince goes into a Scizor, because Scizor can easily Bullet Punch from this range and OHKO, or not OHKO, but, pretty much KO that Terrakion. So he switches out into his Gliscor, and now we see the Bullet Punch is coming, and it does 20%. A decent amount, but definitely not something you'd want to see. So now Gliscor seems like it's in a pretty good situation, and predicts the switch, but he overpredicts in this case, as Wolf Prince actually stays in, goes for the Swords Dance, showing that it is a Swords Dance set with leftovers, and that's bad news for Garchomp, because this Bullet Punch, even after that toxic healing stuff, is just barely looking at a 2-hit KO here. It is going to be close. He's going to have to get close to max damage here. And as we can see here, he gets a critical hit, but I did do a damage calc, so Scizor gets to stay in the driver's seat with +2 attack, and at this point, nothing on Garchomp's team is going to want to take a Bullet Punch, so it's easy work here. You know he's faster, so Reuniclus is not even going to have to worry about taking a Bullet Punch, because that Bug Bite's going to be able to easily KO. Now, Garchomp, we see he goes into his Hydreigon, which means that pretty much this is good game, because if he's not sending in Terrakion, that means he's got nothing. But Bullet Punch does not KO. Can you believe that? And Hydreigon, evidently its best move, does not either have a fire move, or Garchomp was not expecting it to live, because he goes for Superpower here, which does not KO, obviously, because Scizor is decently bulky. And now Wolf Prince is able to easily finish that thing off with another Bullet Punch. But, pretty much it's a good game here, unfortunately. Garchomp sitting in his Terrakion, and just as a little last measure saying good game, he goes for the quick attack, and actually outspeeds. So, we still don't know exactly what kind of set this Terrakion was, but either way, Wolf Prince is able to finish off this match with a 5-0 win. Very close, in fact, because I think Wolf Prince still had this one in the bag, because he did have 4 other pokes besides that Scizor, but just because that Scizor was able to finish off that Gliscor, he pretty much wins from there. I mean, you just saw how he finishes up the rest of the team, kind of a Scizor mini sweep. And so, we've got match 2 coming up real quick, so stay tuned. If you looked at the length of this video, you'd know that I actually did include it in this match, or in this video, that here is the second match, and we can see that Wolf Prince here is showing his Rain team, which is very, very, very much a Rain team. He's got Politoed here to set up the Rain, then he's got Jirachi to be able to take Fire-type attacks now that it's in the Rain, and do some Thunder shenanigans. Of course, Starmie gets a Rain boost when it uses Surf. Who knows, it might have Thunder. Thundurus, obviously a good pick for this, because Thundurus is able to use that Rain to make Thunder hit 100% of the time. Swampert is in there, so that I can set up Stealth Rocks, and it doesn't have to worry about having any major weaknesses there, and kind of rounds out the team. Gyarados is just there, so it can Dragon Dance up, it looks like. Now Garchomp using another team as well, uses a Rain team as well, which is, kind of interesting. It's the battle of the Rain teams. Whichever one was built better will win. and we see that he has Dragonite in his first position, and that Dragonite looks like it's probably just going to be a standard Dragon Dance set. Then we got Politoed, probably a defensive one considering most of his other pokes are pretty offensive. Tornadus, the regular form, dealing out massive damage with those hurricanes, 100% chance to hit in the rain. Going to be a problem for Wolf Prince's team if he can't work around that properly. And then we got Fortress, obviously, just to do what Fortress does, which is set up Stealth Rocks and Spikes or whatever else he has, and then possibly Volt Switch and Rapid Spin, whatever he has on his Fortress. And then Mamoswine here. Mamoswine pretty much taking out a lot of threats, possibly with the Earthquake and Ice Shard to deal a lot of damage to those flying types. And then we got Terrakion here, again, which we can assume it's Choice Scarf since most are, but you never know, really. But, without further ado, let us get into this exciting second match here. Wolf Princess versus Garchomp Pit. Let's go. Garchomp Pit sends out his Dragonite. Wolf Prince, starting off with his Politoed, gets the rain up. Very nice. Now Garchomp Pit here just goes for a Thunder, almost KOs that Politoed, and we can see that that did a massive amount of damage, but breaking the multi-scale, Politoed gets a critical hit, which takes down that Dragonite to a very low amount of health, and we don't see leftovers here, so we're not quite sure what kind of set this Dragonite is. But Garchomp predicts a Swampert or Thunderous Switch, and decides that he doesn't want to risk missing something else, or he could be choiced, in which case he switches out to his Politoed, and taking the Ice Beam very nicely. Now he goes for Scald here, gets a crit. Probably did matter considering Wolf Prince, if he did have max HP, max special defense, it did matter in that case. And now Wolf Prince goes into his Gyarados, and knowing that this thing probably wants to substitute or something, goes into Terrakion, a pretty gutsy play considering could have gone for Waterfall, but what Gyarados isn't going to set up on a Politoed? I mean, everybody knows that. So Terrakion switches into this Gyarados, and we can see it's faster and uses Stone Edge, easily able to break the sub. And Gyarados going for that Waterfall, getting a crit, but it has the Sash. It is a Focus Sash Terrakion, and that actually does not work out in Wolf Prince's case, as Terrakion is faster, so he's going to have to switch out here. Goes into his Swampert here, a nice play on his part. And being able to predict this, he uses Close Combat, and is able to land that Swampert in a range where it can be KO'd again with Close Combat. Now he overpredicts here and goes for X Scissor here, thinking Starmie's coming in. But, don't try to overpredict too much there. But I think Wolf Prince just wanted to either get up his rocks or he was expecting not to live. Which, either way he gets up Stealth Rocks, which is going to be very nice against this team. Now we see Terrakion using Close Combat this time, because he does not want to risk X's or not KOing or going for some other move, so he just plays it safe here. And since Terrakion's going to die to Stealth Rocks, we can see that he's going to sack it here to the Starmie's Earthquake, or not Earthquake, Hydro Pump, what am I saying here? Either way, he sends out Politoed this turn, and so Wolf Prince switches out his Starmie and actually goes into his Jirachi here. And now Politoed just kind of does a safe Scald here, doing a nice damage. It looks like it's a 4-hit KO from this range. And I mean, that does a lot for a pretty defensive Politoed. And now we see Jirachi going for Psyshock, which, we think, it doesn't have Thunder. I mean, why wouldn't he use Thunder, right? I mean, whatever. Scald, Politoed, boom. Now he gets the burn. Very lucky on his part, but it doesn't look like it's an offensive variant, or a physical variant. But then Wolf Prince shows he actually has Thunder, trying to trick Garchomp Pit here, and hopefully getting a KO, but not the case, unfortunately. And with that burn damage this turn, Jirachi is barely going to go down to the burn damage and Scald damage, making this a 3-hit KO for Politoed. Politoed here is very crippled, and so this is a good opportunity for Wolf Prince to go in his Gyarados and try to set up again. So Gyarados goes for the substitute here, and we can see that predicting that Garchomp stays in and goes for the Perish Song. A very interesting choice for Politoed, but very nice in this situation. And now we see here that he pretty much just wants his Gyarados to stay in and KO this Politoed or whatever comes in. So he goes for Stone Edge, and he gets the Moxie boost, but he's only got 2 turns to live before he has to switch out or die. And so now Garchomp goes into his fortress here, and we can pretty much say he's going to try to use Volt Switch, because, I mean, it's a pretty scary thing here. But, you know, he could have set up hazards, but we don't know, because he flinched. Yeah, Fortress flinched, and it's going to be a 2-hit KO, even after leftovers, because in the rain, Waterfall from Gyarados at +1 is going to be able to pretty much 2-hit KO anything. And so now, unfortunately, he sacks his Fortress, but this pretty much seals the deal on the Gyarados, meaning that Gyarados is going to have to faint this turn because he did not switch out. Not a big deal, he got some things out of there. But now Wolf Prince goes into his Starmie, and Garchomp makes a nice play, actually, sacking his Dragonite and seeing what Wolf Prince is going out to, and then switching in a Pokemon accordingly. Now, Starmie, you know, pretty much has this team, you know, has Garchomp's team pretty well figured out now, and he can know that he can outspeed that Tornadus and KO him with an Ice Beam easily. Mamoswine comes in, and we can see that this Starmie is probably choice, because the way he switches that out here instead of going for Hydro Pump, we can pretty much say that it's choice in some way. And so now Mamoswine goes to the Earthquake, and it works out for Wolf Prince because that Thundurus is able to, you know, avoid the Earthquake. And now Ice Shard barely does not KO, and Thundurus, unfortunately for Garchomp, is going to hit the Focus Blast. It's a double down, but Wolf Prince still has his Starmie, so that was a very close 1-0 victory for Wolf Prince, and unfortunately this is single elimination, so Garchomp is unfortunately eliminated. Wolf Prince moves on to the semifinals, and pretty much that's a good game. I mean, it was very close, especially that second match, where, you know, it could have gone either way, but unfortunately that Fortress, I don't know how much that mattered, not being able to take off a move. If it was able to sub Stealth Rocks, that Thundurus would have gone down, but Wolf Prince probably could have just sent in Starmie again to revenge kill it. And so that was a pretty interesting match here. So we expect more from Wolf Prince later in the match, as everyone finishes up their first round battles. And this is Steelgrassify here, again, reporting for the Pokemon Chaos Forums in the August OU tourney. Until next time, see you later.